Hey friends, Kylie here, your host of Dream On with Kylie Omiller, back for another episode with another star in the lacrosse world, fellow New Balance athlete, and an awesome person all around. Thank you as always for tuning in. These episodes are recorded from a live Zoom webinar that I hold through the KO17 Lacrosse app and are constructed into this Dream On podcast that you have found here. I hope you are gaining some insight from these episodes from some of the people that I've met throughout my lacrosse journey that have imposed so much of their wisdom on me. We've got another really special guest this week, and I'm pumped to get right into it. Rob Pannell is one of the most well-known players in the sport of lacrosse, one of the most known faces with some of the most show-stopping moves. He started off as somebody that I went to YouTube highlight videos of to watch how he attacked the cage, wanting to really emulate his style as a young player myself. And now he is someone that I can call a peer and a friend in the lacrosse world. In this episode, we chat through where his prove people wrong mindset originated, some of the moments in his lacrosse journey that he continues to be grateful for today, and how he truly reached the great heights that he has in the sport and even beyond it. Excited for you all to take some of RP3's wisdom from this episode, as I know I definitely did. Let's get into it. You're good to go. Welcome to Dream On Live. Thank you so much for being here, taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know that you're super busy to be here and hang out with us, our KO17 Lacrosse fam. And this will also be recorded as a podcast episode too. So thank you for those of you who are tuning in later on, listening to this as a podcast. We have one of the best in the world here with us. And I know you're all frazzled right now. So
maybe I used to be. I don't know about it anymore, but yeah, I'm old.
Oh, please. Let's be real here. We saw you dodging through all those the mazes and everything like that on that New Balance freeze.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
I know, I'm pumped about that too. That's soon. But for those of you who don't know, Rob Pannell is here with us today, and he is just, again, like I said, one of the all-time greatest in the sport. Someone that I'm embarrassed now that we're friends to admit that I used to watch his highlights to be able to get better myself. But that was kind of a Joe Spalina thing, but also kind of a me thing.
You were ahead of your time with that. I feel like that's common now.
There you go. So
I'm not saying for me, I'm saying for women watching men's highlights to bring to their game. So you were ahead of your time in that regard.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, it's definitely something that I push with these girls and anybody listening. I think it's so important, right? Like, I think there's so many crossovers between the two games that we can definitely get into. But a little bit about Rob before we start. He's a professional lacrosse player in the PLL for the Atlas. He played for the Lizards for a couple of years as well. He went to Cornell. He is a Tewaaraton Award winner. He's a multi-year all-star. Gold medal winner, Team USA, all the accolades. He's a New Balance warrior athlete. That's what we were just talking about with our New Balance freeze shoot. He's the founder of Attack Academy as well. So just like we have the KO17 Lacrosse app, there's an Attack Academy app as well. And Rob himself is the Kylie of that one. And all the other things. So I'm just like super excited to have you here, dive into, what makes you you, and thank you for being here and hanging out with us.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on. Excited to be here and that we can make this work.
Awesome. Yeah. So what I know that we do, like all of these different interviews and things like that. And a lot of times we just hop right into lacrosse questions. But we like to start off on a good note here with our Dream On episodes. So 3 quick questions that I'm going to ask you, just kind of like diving a little bit deeper how you are doing today. But one, something that you are thankful for today. What would that be, Rob?
Oh, what am I thankful for today? Man, it's a great question. So much going on today that my head's been in so many places.
I feel yeah.
I'm trying to think of something positive that happened today that I can be thankful for. I don't know. Ask you the next one. I'll come back to it.
All right.
These are a good question. That's a good question.
It is a good question.
You
What
don't get
is
asked
something
often.
what do you think is something that you're so you said you did a lot today, something that you're proud to say that you accomplished today?
Proud to say that I accomplished today. I helped a friend in need um, who was moving, and he asked for my assistance, and I was there for him and gave him help. So
There you go.
I'm proud to say that I helped a friend today. Uh, Not every day you can say that.
No, that's true. You could be thankful for that too today.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't. I didn't know how to phrase it. Thankful that I have friends that are uh, useful of my services. I don't
Yeah,
know.
there you go. Yep. Useful of your help, your friendship, your time, your services. I love
That
it.
are comfortable enough to ask me for help. I think that's important. That says a lot about your friendship with someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. That's really cool. And last but not least, looking a little bit less into today, but a little bit more into the future, something that you're pumped to go out and chase. Might be tomorrow, might be this week, next coming months, something that you're pumped.
Yeah, I've got a project in the works, which you know a little bit about, which is day by day becoming evolving more and more, and I'm excited to whether that's in a month or 2 months or 3 months to get this out there, as it's something that as we discussed really isn't being offered, and something that I think will allow lacrosse players to uh, bring their understanding of what it takes to be their very best off the field to a next level. On the field is one thing, but what you need to do off the field is certainly another thing, as we both know. So I'm excited for this to develop, and it's been fun getting started, and be fun to see where it goes.
Yeah, how's the process going? I know it's got a lot of I guess like behind the scenes work to get into it. So I know it's nutrition based, right? How's
Yeah, it's nutrition and strength and conditioning based. So I think the fun part about it is that it's a new project, so it's always evolving, and there's every day we meet and we talk about it. New ideas come up in ways in which we can make it better and streamline it for more people. Um, so it's good, but I think when you think about what we're going to be offering people with regards to taking care of their body more, and just allowing them to become a better athlete in ways that you don't really think about as a kid. You're never really thinking about your nutrition. You're never thinking about um, strength and conditioning that much, or mobility and flexibility, and your mindset, and things that you can do during the week in the off season leading up to the game day, that can really have a big impact. And it's something I wish I did earlier in my career, but it only took me until I was 30 to maybe figure it out.
Hey, everybody's got a different timeline, right? That's
Very
all.
true.
And I'm pretty sure you have been pretty successful up until this point without it. So, whatever you've been doing has been working too. So can you start from the beginning for us? Um, how did you get into this sport that we all know and love? How did you get introduced to it?
Yeah, lacrosse was actually the last sport that I picked up. I always loved sports, and I loved playing every sport. And one of my friends at the time, who I played baseball and basketball with, gave me a lacrosse stick in his backyard. His older brother had played, and we started throwing it around. And I immediately uh, picked it up, and I was like, "Oh, this is like baseball and having a catch with a stick." And I picked it up pretty easily. And then he's like, "Well, come to practice and check it out." And I went to my first practice and just fell in love with the game, and just the fast-paced nature of it. I think going from baseball and playing catcher and being behind home plate to lacrosse, where I was ironically behind the cage from day one and playing X attack, and but just to have so many different aspects of so many of the sports that I played into one was really something that drew me to lacrosse, and it's why I love playing it ever since.
I love that you said that you were in the quarterback position from the get-go. I That's something we don't have in common, but we do now. So that's really cool to know that you were like from the get-go that it was that something that came from the other sports that you played? You just like felt natural back there? Or do you think like it was just, I don't know, just part of your nature? You wanted to be back there and just like as the QB.
I,
Like what
I,
brought you to the X position?
yeah, I think it originated from being a point guard in basketball. That's definitely what it was, and just kind of being in control of the offense and being aware of where people are and being able to set up the play and know how people move off ball, etc. I was just comfortable back there from really early on in a career and understood, dodging and attacking the goal and, shooting back at the goal as opposed to shooting at the goal. So it came really easy. And I think I just enjoyed really early on the assist side of the game. My dad always told me that an assist is just as important as a goal. And I really took that to heart in lacrosse from an early age and always enjoyed quarterbacking from X and making that assist to someone who scored rather than being the one who actually put it in the goal.
Love that. That is something we have in common. Apples are almost more satisfying, right?
They are. They are to me. They are to me. I'll take it over a goal any day.
Me too. I'm with you there. I love it. I mean, we both grew up on Long Island as well. Something we also have in common. Obviously, heavily like populated with lacrosse players, right? Super popular sport in the area, which we can't say about a lot of the people who might be listening here, right? Like it's just kind of like a way of life here. What do you think like you did when you were younger that you would say that made you kind of stand out from everybody else that was also playing lacrosse on Long Island? Like what made you stand out from the crowd?
I think one of the biggest things was just my investment in my stick skills and left and right hand. I looked at myself physically, and I wasn't the strongest or fastest guy, so you had to figure out other ways to differentiate yourself in order to continue to play at a high level. And for me, that was okay. I need to be able to go lefty just as good as I do righty, and it's something that I invested in at an early age, in like sixth grade, and started in indoor, where my dad was like, "Why don't you just put the stick in your left hand for the entire indoor season? Who cares if you're not scoring? Who cares if you're throwing bad passes? Because the next one will be that much better to get to where you want to go." So I started doing that. I was in my backyard every day. But I really broke down, switch from a right hand to a left hand, and I would take the stick in my right hand, see how I was holding the stick, where are my feet placed, how is my follow through, and then I'd switch to my left and just really slowly go over it, and then gradually build up speed within that. And eventually it got to the point where I felt just as comfortable going lefty as I do righty, and I think I probably go to my left side more today than I do to my right side. Definitely better at shooting on the run lefty, which is kind of weird. But
Interesting.
yeah. It's something I invested in, and I think it was. I certainly wouldn't be here talking to you today if I hadn't have done that.
That's a really great way to put that. I think, it's something that like obviously yourself and myself, we work with a lot of young players out there, and it's something that we definitely both take pride in. I think it kind of like starts from our position because we do have to attack both sides of the cage, right? But I think that's where we kind of recognize how important it is. But it's something that I know personally, and now knowing a little bit about how you attack your style as well, like we're definitely trying to instill that in young players, right? Strong right hand, strong left hand. Something that I always say is like the best compliment that you could get on the lacrosse field would be from someone who's never seen you play before. And if they said, "Hey, I have no idea if that girl or guy is a righty or lefty," right? Like that's the best compliment you could get about your stick work is if they have no idea what your strong hand is.
100%, especially when you're in college and the opposing team thinks you're scouting you as that opposite hand. I remember getting some text messages from some friends being like, "Hey, we had you as a lefty on the scouting report today." And I was like, "Oh, that's great." And I was like, "Keep it that way."
That's
Just go to my
awesome.
right.
I'm a lefty.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something that's never happened to me. So that's definitely a cool story. Wow.
Yeah. No,
People scouted you as a lefty? That's
yeah, it happened a few times too. It happened, one time my buddy actually texted me like I had to switch the scouting report today, and then I remember just playing games where the defenseman would literally be guarding me, letting me go to my right, and I was like, "Do they think I'm a lefty?" And and sure enough, I just take what you're given almost at that point. And uh, yeah, so it happened a few times, and it was good.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. I mean, probably the best story that you could have for having a dual threat and as a right and a left hand there. Um,
Yeah, definitely
so
made me feel good about my younger self.
yeah, there you go. Like the hard work pays off, right? When the when the scouting report comes back and you get to go to your right hand all day long.
Yep.
Uh, love that for you. But so I think like you mentioned a lot about like your younger self, and you said that you wouldn't be here today, like where you are as a lacrosse player, without some of those traits that you instilled in like in your work ethic and things like that. What do you think that you learned about like going a little bit later into your journey, your recruiting process? Like what was that like? What was that story like for you? And what were some of the, I think, lessons that you learned from your recruiting process and trying to get to the spot that you were in your collegiate career?
My recruiting process was certainly different than what most people think my recruiting process was like. Being uh, where I am in the sport today, a lot of people think that I just probably had my choice of anywhere, and it was quite the opposite. So what did I learn from that process? I mean, I think I learned that if you want to reach your goals in life, you really have to invest in yourself. And if that means taking an extra year of school to get recruited, um, and by exploring all avenues possible to get to where you want to go, then by all means, you must do that. You have to really understand how bad you want something. Like I knew, like from when I started playing lacrosse, like I was sitting in front of my TV watching Final Fours with my stick in hand, going out to my backyard during halftime, and getting a new stick on the Final Four one year with the guys on the field were using. And I just remember I was like, I want to be that guy, and I want to be out there competing for a national championship. And I wanted to make sure that I, exhausted all options possible to do that. So, I am lucky that my parents invested in me, and my uncle and my family invested in that journey and saw it out with me. Because if they hadn't, and if I hadn't, I once again I wouldn't be here, because I would have played lacrosse at probably a lower Division 1 school, maybe even Division 3 or Division 2, and certainly wouldn't have got to the recognition to get to where I am today. So I think that's the number one, is like investing in yourself, and with that, believing in yourself, because it's if you don't think you can do it, or if you think it's not going to happen, then it's probably not going to. But if I had stopped believing in myself after my senior year of high school and kind of just threw in the towel and said, all right, I'm supposed to go to Quinnipiac, I'll just go there and see it out, and whatever, graduate, and then that's what would have happened. But I really wanted to play at the highest level, and taking an extra year of high school was something that I had no idea even existed, and it was something that I uh, got really lucky there as well, and getting an extra bed, and I did that, and it paid off by a few schools looking at me then, and Cornell took a chance on me, and I got really lucky there. They were the last school to recruit me. Um, Committed in November of my 5th year, and went there, and the rest is history. But I think if you don't believe in yourself and you don't invest in yourself, then there's really nothing that you can do. There's nothing. You're really not going to go where you want to go. I think that's really important that you do that.
Such a cool story. Like you said, nobody would really look at you now and think about that, right? And I think that's important for people to know, that there is a journey and a story behind all of it. And I think it's really important also that you said to believe in yourself, whatever your dreams might be. Um, and I also do want to know a little bit about your time at Cornell. I know you mentioned that that was your dream, right? And you did everything possible to get there, and then you got there. And like you said, the rest is history. So for me, that was, watching your YouTube highlights, and I know what was going on the field. But like, what were some of your, favorite memories from your 4 years there? Like, some of your favorite games, maybe some of, a piece of advice you might have taken from a coach, Something that you really took from those years at Cornell that made all that hard work and that extra year of high school and all that believing in yourself really worth it.
Yeah, well, I learned that when you get there, the hard work is just beginning. So, that was a lot of it. But I think the coolest moment for me was going through what I went through. And listen, it's lacrosse, it's playing college sports. It's not, there's a lot bigger problems in the world than not being able to achieve your life goal of playing Division One lacrosse, right? A lot of people dealing with other things, but in going what in high school, it does seem like the biggest thing in the world. So at the time, going through what I went through and not being recruited and not understanding why and having to take an extra year of high school and all your friends are off at college and then playing lacrosse. Prior to that, I didn't make varsity as a freshman. I was being cut from club programs. And it wasn't because I had a lack of skill. It was just like, I wasn't a big imposing physical player. I made the game looked very simple of just doing my job and doing it well. So to finally get to where I wanted to go, which I never really wanted to go to Cornell or an Ivy League school. It was I wanted to go Virginia, ACC type school, because I didn't know if Cornell would ever be in that position, right? Granted, as I was being recruited, they made the Final Four in 07, which was my senior year of high school, quarterfinals in 08. And running out onto the field my freshman year, starting at attack and playing against Virginia in the Final Four, which was my dream school, was probably it's definitely my best memory in lacrosse. And we won that game, and I just remember after that being in the hotel that night and the next day, and just like bizarre that you're heading to a national championship game in your future freshman year, and just kind of what my parents were there, and it gets emotional with them and stuff, and because they're there along for everything, and they feel it twice as hard as you do. So that was my best memory, and we won't talk about what happened in the championship game, but I do believe that what happened in that championship game fueled me for the years to come. And I've said this multiple times, but I think if we won that game on Monday, I probably wouldn't be here again in front of you, because I wouldn't have worked as hard and I wouldn't have been as driven to get back to that game, which I never did. Went to 2 more Final Fours, but never made it back to get a chance to win it on Monday. And in a way that kind of still drives me today. It's still something I think about very, not as much as I used to, but pretty often. And, I look at that as one of my best memories at Cornell. I look at breaking my foot as another one. The challenges that provided, and how it made me stronger as a person, and mentally had to deal with things that I wasn't used to dealing with at a time in my career where I was at my best. And you really learn a lot about yourself there, and it was something along the way that made me a better person, a better teammate for that next year. And we went back to the Final Four and in my 5th year. So, besides for that, I think you talked about the work, right, and investing in the team. And I wake up now early, and everyone's like, "How do you do that?" And traveling up at 5, or work out at 6 a.m. Well, I did it in college a bunch, and it's those memories that I think about, being there and freezing cold, running a mile, and practicing outside at 7 a.m. on during the fall, or but those things that really you remember. It's not so much the wins and the losses; those are great, but the work that leads up to it is often the most rewarding, and the things that you remember the most. So that's just a few things, and I was very lucky. We had a lot of great teams, and we won a lot of games, and that made my experience as a whole a lot better and a lot easier, because I'm a pretty competitive person. So if we weren't winning that many games, it definitely would have been more difficult.
And I think to go off what you said, all that work and all the behind the scenes stuff obviously took you to that level to be able to win all those games and be able to enjoy your experience, right? So it's kind of like a full circle situation. All the work that you put in is the success that you get out of it. But I appreciate you for sharing some of those memories, like the highs and the lows are some of the things that you still think back on. I think that's important to mention too, right? Like you don't always just remember the highs, but sometimes you remember the lows more, and what they taught you, and they stick with you longer. Like you said, you never got back to another national championship game. I personally have never made it to a Final Four. Still fuels me. And I will never be able to go do that again. But we have bigger things to accomplish, but it's still going to fuel us. So I appreciate you for sharing that. And I think, in a sense of, I'm getting like a very, and I knew this about you, but I'm getting a very like prove people wrong type of sense from you. And I think it comes from a lot of those lows, right? And a lot of like feeling what the highs feel like too. Do you think that comes from those experiences? Or you think that's like just the natural competitor in you? Like, do you think it's, I think there's a question that I always found really interesting to think about, right? Like the leadership qualities. Are you born as a great leader, or do you kind of develop those leadership qualities as you go through life, right? It's kind of the same kind of situation here. Like, were you born with this like competitive sense and wanting to prove people wrong, or was it kind of something that you kind of took in along the way?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I think I had no choice but to be competitive in the family that I was born into. So, my dad's the most competitive person I know, uh, after myself, but I get it from him. So I guess by default it's him. And to this day, we'll be playing golf, or I'll be playing golf, and he'll be like, "How'd you do?" And it like matters to him, and it's just really, you can imagine what it was like playing lacrosse and him growing up. It was never what I did well. It was always what I could have done better. And I think he instilled that in me. But there were, and honestly, to a fault, because that does get exhausting if you're never proud of what you do. And it's almost, like you said, you made a great point with the wins you get over, and they're gone, and you don't really even think about them because whatever, who cares? But the losses are the ones that annoy you and drive you, because they frustrate you and you think about them more, and don't sleep at night, whatever it may be. So that was just like that was something that I'm grateful that he did. And like I said, it did get exhausting, because even now it's like if something good happens, it's expected, and you almost can't even enjoy it. And I think I've tried to change that later in my career, and enjoy the process more, enjoy those wins more, and be a little more relaxed when it comes to losing. And it's not easy, but it's at some point when you've done as much as you or I have done, you have to start you have to loosen up a little bit. And I think I've kind of tried to do that. But I'd say the more prove people wrong thing definitely started earlier in my career, when I wasn't making those club teams, and when I wasn't looked as like just I was back up to two of my best friends. I was the third attackman. I was looked at like the third attackman. Didn't make varsity as a freshman. Wasn't recruited. I'd say that's kind of where it started, and it kind of continued on to college. But I mean, I got more recognition in college than I did in high school as a freshman. To start, I was all sorts of stuff that I wasn't used to happening, and but once that happened, it wasn't good enough. I wanted more, and I wanted to win more, and yeah, so it's definitely started at a young age, and has stayed with me since till now. But like I said, I'm trying to change a little bit for my mental health.
Mental health is important. You gotta stay sane if you're gonna be playing this long, right? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
few years left.
Well, I mean, talking on that front as well, like you said, you've been playing for a little while now, and post collegiately after your years at Cornell. Did you know that you wanted to continue to play right away? Was that something that was always in your dreams? Did you know that you wanted to go full into lacrosse all the time, like full career path with lacrosse? Was that something that came easy as a decision for you, or was that a different path that you got to this journey?
It came pretty easy. It's not something I knew I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to play pro. I thought it'd be fun. I grew up watching the Lizards and going to games, and to be drafted by them and play for them was, another dream of mine. And to have that come true was awesome. I didn't know if I would be coaching and doing camps and clinics and really pursuing this as a full time. So when I graduated and decided to, I was like, I'll do it for 2-3 years and see how it goes, but get into the working world after that. And sure enough, it's 8 years later. So I it didn't it's still going, and kind of sucks you in. And I guess it's just because of how much I love the sport, and that, and that's why it sucked you in, and will continue to. And traveling and getting to interact with kids and see the smiles on their faces is the best part of our job. And I don't just say that because it's my job, but everyone, when someone says, that's got to get old, signing autographs or taking pictures, is like, sorry, they apologize for it. I was like, like, it's a great problem to have. And, for as long as someone wants my autograph or wants a picture and, wants to show up to a clinic of mine, I'll be there, and be there doing it. So, no, it's been going for a while now. And, I think part of me will always do something in lacrosse. I always say I don't want to coach my kids, but, but
Yeah,
I'll be in lacrosse. I'll coach from the backyard, but I don't know if I want to coach teams. But I'll be in lacrosse for quite a while.
I'm with you there. Like you said, it kind of sucks you in. It's part of the passion of it. But can you talk a little bit about so your lifestyle of doing lacrosse full time? Like, what is a daily week in your life look like? What does a daily day in your life look like for the last 8 years?
Yeah. For the last 8 years, it's changed a lot this year for everyone. But I was in the city for 7 years, so I think one of the reasons I've been able to have success is just because I prioritize lacrosse, and by that I mean first my playing. So for me, my day revolves around making sure that I'm getting my workout in, and usually in season getting reps in on the field. So wherever that is, nothing else can go on, and meetings, whatever, anything else doesn't happen. So that's a lot of it is my working out, and I've been able to stay consistent with that for quite some time now. And the daily routine changes, but the workouts are always there. Week to week, day to day, it's different for me. But I'd say now it mostly looks like at least one training session a day for about an hour 15 minutes, in the weight room, possibly, depending on the day, a second session, which is more yoga, flexibility, breathing, which is something you'd probably love, that I just started doing. And then, a lot of the day is spent on, coordinating camps, clinics. I work in the insurance industry a little bit. So for my uncle in Garden City. So I'm in the office a few times a week. So doing some of that, doing some of my own work. And then the weekends, it's in the past, it's been a lot of traveling for camps and clinics. With everything going on, it's been a little different, but we do have some stuff coming up, had some stuff in the fall, doing some stuff locally. But because for the last 8 years, it's really my day has revolved around my training and making sure that on game day, I'm the best possible player that I can be.
Good for you, because that's like a real professional athlete, right? And that's what our goals are.
Yeah, it's a privilege, honestly. It's because a lot of guys that play our sport aren't able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very lucky. And, we both have great sponsors, and that allow me to do that. And it's an advantage as well. These guys that aren't able to do that, they're at a disadvantage. And I think, you know, it's really, um, you know, for us that are able to do it, and more guys are starting able to do it. It's great, and um, who knows, with the way the world's changed, people working from home, it'll they'll be able to prioritize things more as well. So hopefully it's better for lacrosse moving forward.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely been one of our goals for the sport for a long time now, to be able to prioritize it the same way that a lot of these other professional sports do. So that's really awesome to hear that you prioritize your training first and lacrosse first, because I know that the girls listening here know that I do the same. I always have my stick in my hand and they always laugh at me for it, but it's just part of it. So we can't help it. But I think that, goes to show you've obviously gotten to the highest level of the sport, not only professionally, but Team USA as well. That being able to wear that gold medal in Israel a couple of years ago. I watched that one as well. I think it was like 3 a.m. here,
Yeah.
but I watched that one as well. That was a really, really cool game to watch, cool tournament to watch. But, can you talk about your journey to wearing that jersey and what that means, and I guess how that moment felt to be able to wear gold?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about the disappointments leading to driving us, and um, making the world team in 2014, when I was a little younger than I am now, was another dream of mine. And the way the tournament started for us in 2014, it was in Denver, and statistically, we were the best U.S. team ever in our first 6 games. I think actually, even including the 7th game, we still might have been most goals for, lowest goals against. And we were just running through everybody. And, the thought of losing didn't even cross my head in the championship game. And we lost 8-5. And it was just like, Coach Zambroni was the offensive coach, who was my coach at Cornell my freshman and sophomore year. We lost the national championship, and we're like, this is our chance to finally win a championship together. And Coach DeLuca was on the staff as well, and we lost. And it was just like, you couldn't believe it. It was just like a crazy change of events. And Canada executed their game plan. So the next 4 years were like, that's all that was on my mind. And to sort of finally, I mean, to talk about a mental struggle going from that and then to Israel, you learn. So in 2014, it was like every game I was like, I gotta, be the best, and we gotta score 1 million goals. And I was like, I could care, I was like, we win the game, we're gonna win the game. I was like, I don't care if I'm scoring or having assists. I was like, what do we need to do to be better as a team? Because one game matters, and that's the last game. And then the way that game was going, I was just like, this can't be happening again. And honestly, we caught a couple lucky breaks, and Jeff Teat, my fellow Cornellian, hit a pipe for us that would have ended the game. And then we got the ball back, and down by 1, and we scored 2 goals, and to finally win. And it didn't matter for me. I took 1 shot in the game, which is a really interesting statistic, which many people don't believe. And I took it in the last minute. So, I was like, I don't need to score. I was like, whoever is gonna have success, I was like, I just want to win this game. The ball happened to end in my stick with a couple seconds left, and thankfully Tom put the ball in the goal. But I mean, but even then, when we scored, I was like, wait, was there time left? What's going on? It was like, there's a great picture of exactly, it actually describes my dad without a word. And it's a picture of when we scored, the exact time, and it's the USA crowd cheering, like going nuts. And my dad's there just like this, like doubting that something was going on. So Yeah, crazy, crazy, crazy. But finally achieved that goal, and it was unbelievable. And finally, another thing that allowed me to relax. And everyone's like, "How great was it?" I was like, honestly, it was more of a relief than anything. So it was great to get that done with. And of course, now I'd like another one. I don't know if I'm gonna. Might be a little too old to make a third team, but I'm glad I got one. And going 0 for 2, I might have stayed in Israel. So
That would have been a tough place to stay. That's so funny, but I mean, that's a really like inspiring story. I know you don't mean it to be, but it's just part of your journey, but it really is an inspiring story. And for the ball to end up in your stick at the end of the game, I'm sure that was a really special moment as well. I get to say personally that I got to do a Freeze 3 video shoot with the two guys that made the the 2018 gold medal happen. So whatever. I mean, I guess I had something to do with it too. Just kidding. Just my
definitely
associate.
the next one. Definitely the next one.
I hope so. I mean, it's a similar goal to yours for sure, but that's really awesome. And I can definitely I'm sure that your dad was ecstatic after that time ran out for sure too.
He's probably still doubts it today. No one getting me straight. Like, are you sure?
You sure went
Are you
in?
sure that goal counted?
No, it was awesome. I remember it was like 3:30 a.m. here. I had just had knee surgery like 2 days beforehand. So I was like needing my lacrosse fix, and you guys did it for
Yeah.
us, for the Americans. So appreciate that. And hopefully we can hopefully the women's side can do their part in 2021 as well. So excited about that.
Will that be your first game? Will that
Hope
be
so.
your first game? Okay, yeah.
Hope so.
I'm
Yes.
confident. I'm confident for you.
Thank you for the support. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, you talk a lot about something that I talk about as well, and that's, your passion for the game, obviously, and it's what's driven you, it's what drives you every day, it's, your priority. In the professional world as well, like what what do you think, I guess what's the best way to put this? Like you're one of the most known names in the sport, right? What kind of responsibilities do you feel like comes with that in a sense of like pushing the sport forward, growing the game per se? Some of the things, some of your goals and dreams for the sport of lacrosse, both men's and women's, or just even for the future generation, like what kind of responsibilities do you feel to make sure that those happen? What are those goals for you?
I think it first starts with the way you just conduct yourself as a professional, and um, you want people to. The way I look at it is I want people, young players to look at me and say I like the way that guy plays. I like the way he conducts himself on the field and off the field. And some things I get on the rep sometimes, and but I would like people to say, to think and look at the way that I play and act on and off the field, and say, that's what I want to be like, and that's what I want to aspire to be like. And so, we have a big responsibility as people who younger players look up to hold a certain image. And yes, you have to be yourself, but you have to do things the right way. And you know social media is a big thing. It's a big part of what we do, and you got to make sure that you're appropriate there and conducting yourself in a positive manner and positive light. Um, so I think that's number one. Number two, I think, is just we both love to see the game get at the level of other sports. I don't know if it will in our lifetime, but we can't say that we didn't try, and I think that's important because I think there's a lot of in lacrosse, you get some players that are all in and playing professionally, and you get a lot of great players that stop playing, and our sport would be better off with them. So I think we're trying our very best to grow the game. We're traveling around the country. We're traveling to areas that people have never traveled to before to grow the game, and I think that's important. And I think you look at what you're doing and what I'm doing on the technology side and trying to bring the lacrosse to anybody on the country, in the country at their fingertips, is awesome as well. These are things that we didn't have when we were growing up, and to have these resources for people to learn and study the game. It's really then up to them to take advantage of it. And, we can only do so much and put ourselves out there so much. And people have access to that and hopefully take advantage of that. And hopefully it'll allow our sport to grow into areas it hasn't grown before. I know there's a lot of talk about lacrosse being in the Olympics. Maybe for you, I'm a little too old. They're talking about 2028, but we're in the process of helping that happen right now, right? And we're involved with our national team and things on the side that are going to help enhance that sport, playing professionally, etc. So, lacrosse is as popular as it's ever been right now. And I think that's in large part due to people like us that invest in it full time and are taking the time to do that. And I think that's something that, we both can be proud of and moving forward, hopefully we inspire more players to do the same after college and maybe not jump into the working world and but to take a few years and give it a try and see what happens. And it's a nice life and it really is rewarding. You get to do what you love and you get to meet people all over and impact lives. And I think that's something that not many people can say about their job.
Absolutely. I think you hit it perfectly there. I think we both love what we do for sure. And I think you also mentioned something that obviously is a big part of both of our lives, and that's the social media aspect of it. I have kind of a fun question for you on that one. But obviously, like a ton of followers, right? A ton of content, a ton of things that you're supposed to be putting out there. But what would you say is something that you want people who follow you or young kids or anybody really just to really take from who you are? Like from your social media, what do you want people to look at Rob Pannell's Instagram and be like, oh, like that's what he's like? What do you want people to
I think that's exactly it. I think it's pretty genuine. I know obviously we have our sponsors and we have to post certain things, but nothing for me is really forced. I'm not forcing to post every day about something. And I really want to give people, and this is something I tried to do from when I first started, and which is why I think people took a liking to it, was I just posted really things that were me and my life and my lifestyle, what I did for fun. I put my family on there a lot, and certainly my niece and my nephew, and what's important
She's
to me.
adorable.
They're the best. But it kind of just like an inside look of things that I like to do, both lacrosse, but also outside of lacrosse. And I think that's a cool aspect of it, and not every post has to have intention. And, it could be just a picture you like or something that you did that day that you had fun doing, like you said, or something you're thankful for. Not every post has to have meaning behind it and be great. But social media is interesting. I think today more than ever, certainly. But over the years, you learn a lot about what people like, what people don't like, and an interesting trend that I think today too is that people just consume social media and don't engage so much. They kind of just scroll. And I catch myself doing it, but certainly when you're looking at someone who does it like us, and you can get so wrapped up in the likes and the views, and I try to not anymore, because that's not a way you want to live your life. So it's social media is a blessing and a curse, but for the most part, it's been great and certainly allows us to do what we do.
For sure. Blessing and a curse is a good way to put it. Absolutely. But I challenge you to post something that you're thankful for, since that was our first question today.
All right.
Good deal.
All right. Look for it in the coming days.
No stress though, no pressure. You don't want social media to be a stressor, right?
I was thankful that it was warm today. I walked out of the house and you didn't have to. I wasn't freezing.
That's true.
That was nice. It was
Yeah.
nice, like a nice fall day.
For sure. It was freezing on Halloween, so I was kind of scared that winter was coming for us, but
yeah,
not so quick here on Long Island. Awesome. So we have some quick little questions from our KO17 lacrosse family for you.
Cool.
And then my last segment here is called Quick Finishes. So those are some rapid fire questions.
I gotta work on those.
The rapid fire ones, or just your quick finishes?
No, ball on the field, probably off the field too. We'll find out.
All right. So our first question is actually from Kat, who is here with us tonight. And she'd like to know what was your biggest motivator when it came to playing college lacrosse besides a national championship?
Biggest motivator to to playing in college, like to getting there, or when I was there?
When you were there, correct, Kat?
When I was there. So I think the biggest thing for me, and I want to say, was like my teammates, and because I think when you get to a point where a lot of people look at you, and on game day, a lot of listen, if you're doing well, our team's probably having success. So it's a lot of pressure, but it was a point that I didn't want to let my teammates down, and I knew that I had taken this role on, and it started early as a freshman where quarterbacking the offense and you take on a certain role, and I didn't want I knew that people were expecting me to perform, right? It was expected, right? If Rob shows up, guys are gonna play off of that, and I think I took that to heart, and I was like, all right, I need to make sure that I'm ready to go on game day. And in the off season, I'm working out in the summers and the fall, so that I can't let like I said, it was when after a game when we won, and Grant had a good game, it was a relief. It was like, all right, cool, I could take a breath, and then start thinking about the next game the next day. But yeah, I'd say it was my teammates. I was a tough teammate, a tough leader. I held guys to high expectations, but I held myself to those same expectations. And at the end of the day, I really, if we lost, I felt bad that I let them down, and tried to keep those losses to a minimum.
Awesome. Great question, Kat. Our other question here would be, what is the best advice that you've received throughout your lacrosse career? Might be from a coach, a mentor, a teammate, one piece of advice that has stuck with you through.
My high school coach always said, and I always believe in it for the most part. Sometimes you do have to go out and get it, but he always said, let the game come to you. And such an interesting thing when you think about it, because it's not in our nature to do that. It's like, okay, we have a game, let's get to the goal, let's score, and you find that you do that, you're kind of forcing things, and you're really not letting the game come to you. And I mean, that USA game was a perfect example of it, in that I didn't take a shot, and the shot I took was an okay shot. It was a good look. It wasn't like I forced it, and just let the game come to me. And you end up not even thinking, and things just happen, and opportunities present themselves. And if you do that, more often than not, you're going to get an outcome that you want. But if you start to force it, next thing you know, you have 10 shots, none of which have went in the goal, and it just doesn't look right, it doesn't feel right. So let the game come to you. It's tough to do, but I think if you can do it and just play and trust those around you, you'll find it, easy.
I'm smiling over here because that is my same answer to that question, because my dad used to tell me the same thing.
Yeah.
Let the game come to you. And it's never, it never leaves your head. Like, it's when you start to have those forced games, those forced scenarios, and you're like, okay, chill out. Like, the game is happening, right? Like, let it come. I think we put so much time and energy and effort into what we do, right? Like, it's going to come naturally when you get out onto the field. Like, there's no reason to force it. So that is very funny that you have the same answer to that question that I do.
Yeah, and it's crazy. You get like, because you've had so many points in your career, and it's like, I've had quite a few as well, and
just a couple.
When you start thinking about that, right, when you go from one game to the next game, then people start talking about records and this and that, and you're like, oh, now I got to do this every game. And you're like, that's like impossible, but like, it just happens. Like, it keeps happening and keeps happening, and I think a lot of that is just like letting that game come to you and just playing the way you play, and everything else works itself out. And it's like when you think back on that, it's like, how do you do that? Game after game after game after game. And it kind of just happens if you let it.
Yep, just let it come. I love it. All right, let's get to our quick finishes and then we'll wrap up here. So, are you ready for quick hand?
I'm ready.
I see that. Okay. Favorite movie?
Top Gun.
A new hobby that you've picked up during quarantine?
Oh man, it's not a new one, but
Okay.
hadn't picked it up for years. And tennis.
Nice. One thing on your bucket list?
I have one. What is it? Run a marathon.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting you to say that. Best place that you've traveled to?
I'm going to say Hvar, which is in Croatia.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Been to Australia yet?
No.
Me either. Still on the list. We got to make that happen.
Bucket list, I think.
Tacos or pizza?
Man. I'm going to go pizza.
Cookies or cake?
Cookies.
If you could see one band or artist in concert, who would it be?
Currently, I've been to one concert in my life that I actually wanted to go to, and it was Lil Wayne. So I'm gonna go with Lil Wayne.
Oh, you're throwing me for a loop with these answers. Last one. If you didn't play lacrosse, what sport would you want to play professionally?
Golf.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up our quick finishes there. I'm glad that we finally got to what you are thankful for today as well, and that was the weather.
Yes.
But I think all of our listeners and myself, thank you so much for being here and just imposing some of your wisdom on us. You obviously are so successful in the lacrosse world, and it's important to know how you got there and how you continuously just continue to crush your dreams. So I learned a lot from you today, and I know all of our listeners did as well. So really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with the KO17 lacrosse family. And for all that you do for us, hooking us up with the best people in the world for our app. So thank you for being you, and we appreciate you.
You got it. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Everybody stay safe, and I will see you guys again next week. Thanks again, Rob.
See you later.
Bye, everyone.